Let's continue my very merry Targaryen Christmas by talking about 10 reasons why I love Aegon the Conqueror. Seriously, dude had a lot going for him, including having 2 super hot wives. Liking Aegon the Conqueror is a risky thing. A lot of people seem to hate him, despite him being an absolute bamf. Some people simply view him as a power-hungry warrior that came to Westeros spilling tons of blood simply for a kingdom. Which, okay, maybe he did, which I'll get into later. But you have to admit, he did Westeros a favor. So let's talk about why I personally love Aegon I, and then you can see all the nerd rage in the comment section down below and just horrific comments. Maybe even some death threats over a fictional character. A fictional character I would totally bang. And to be clear, I'm not defending why I love Aegon. I don't really give a shit if someone doesn't agree with me liking Aegon. I just wanted to make this video so I could talk about him. Oh, and to just get this out of the way real quick, throughout this video, I refer to Aegon's kingdom as the Seven Kingdoms. Despite him only conquering 6 of the 7 kingdoms, he never conquered Dorne. This is just the typical terminology that George uses, so I'm going to use too. If you don't agree with that, or you're confused why I'm saying that, I already made a video explaining why they called Aegon King of the 7 Kingdoms, so I don't know, just watch that. It's not really that big of a deal. Alright, number 1, I love him because he made super friends with the faith. And this isn't because I have any deep religious feelings, it's because Aegon used the faith to get power and bring peace, and I love it. So Aegon, a man that was not of the faith of the 7 and an outsider, was super buddy with the faith. In fact, he kept 1 septon at King's Landing and 1 at Dragonstone, and throughout his reign, often wrote to the High Septon on religious issues, while making sure to visit the Starry Sept on a yearly basis. And of the 6 High Septons that were in office during his reign, he was on good terms with all of them. This is important because if you were to look at Aegon before the conquest, you would go, yeah, the faith are not going to like him, which would be a fair assessment because even those in the 7 kingdoms thought, yeah, the faith are not going to like him. Tons of people in the 7 kingdoms thought that Aegon was going to be rejected by the faith. I mean, the guy practiced polygamy and incest, 2 big no-nos in the faith. But instead of freaking out on Aegon or shunning him, they were actually super chill with him. And that's because Aegon played them like a fiddle. Which again, I love. So first, Aegon was not a religious man, yet even before he began his conquests, he went to the Sept on Dragonstone and prayed for 7 days to the 7. Obviously, the guy knew the importance of the faith and that he would need them on his side to help govern the realm and keep his new people on his side when he actually conquered them. Or maybe, and this is a theory of mine that's probably a little crazy, what if Aegon was superstitious or actually did believe that certain gods ruled certain areas and he wanted to make sure that he was on the good side of the 7 that may have controlled Westeros? Okay, sorry, that was a side note. So maybe he knew before his conquest that he would need the faith on his side, but he certainly further saw the benefit during his conquest when Old Town was open to him after the High Septon was given a vision by an aspect of the 7 to accept Aegon, which led to him not having to attack a city, bonus, securing an area, and getting the backing of the High Septon who crowned him and anointed him. That then made his rule infinitely smoother. The guy in charge of the major religion throughout your continent agrees with this new invader that came in and is like, oh yeah, this guy should lead us? Yeah, helps a lot. So besides, as I said, including the High Septon and Septons in on ruling the realm and making sure the faith of the 7 stayed dominant with the newly knitted together realm, Aegon majorly kissed the faith's ass. Okay, so you know that thing people tend to complain about with churches in our own world? No, not diddling kids. The other thing. Yeah, that thing people complain about with churches in our world. Yeah, Aegon did that. while Aegon issued decrees to regularize customs, duties, and taxes throughout the realm, which was a good thing because each port and petty lord before then was able to charge whatever they wanted of tenants, small folk, and merchants. He went even further with taxes though. Aegon made it so that the holy men and women of the faith and all their lands and possessions were to be exempt from taxation. So tax exempt. Aegon made the churches tax exempt non-profit organizations. Nice. Aegon also made it so the faith's own courts had the rights to try and sentence any sworn brother, septon, or holy sister accused of a crime or wrongdoing. Again, what I love about this, and what makes it even better, was that Aegon wasn't a godly man. The guy just knew that he was an outsider and that he united a bunch of kingdoms that had never been united before, and something most of the people in those kingdoms had in common was the faith. So he was playing nice and propping up the faith as a manipulation tactic to keep control. I mean, he was always trying to get the support of the faith and the High Septon. He even made 7 gates in his city of King's Landing to honor the faith. Dude was smart. Okay, so let's move on to number 2 on reasons I love Aegon. He was a fantastic grandpa. Aegon was a total softie in his old age, and like, the best grandpa. So we know that when Aegon's first grandchild, a granddaughter, was placed in his arms, who was the child of his first son from his wife Rhaenys, he cried like a little bitch. Now, some believe it was because the child was named Rhaena after his wife Rhaenys, who had died, who was also his favorite wife, but still, how he doted on that grandchild was just so precious. He was also a super sexy grandpa. Sorry. God, is he hot. Now, did he cry when his own kids were born? I mean, maybe, but that's not nearly as adorable as him crying when his grandkids were born. Plus, if we talk about him as a dad, he kind of loses points because he didn't seem that great to his second-born son, Maegor. But that's okay, let's ignore his failings as a father and talk about what an adorable grandpa he was. Aegon would continue to be, according to Maesters, absolutely delighted with every grandchild he got afterwards, even giving cute little compliments to the newborn babies, such as when his next grandchild came, his first grandson, who he claimed had a warrior's look about him. Come on, that's adorable, even if the guy was saying a baby that was named after him looked like a warrior, and that might be a tad egotistical. And even if a guy saying a baby looked like a warrior is a tad weird. I mean, it's weird, right? In an adorable way, though? The guy even died being an awesome, loving grandpa. Aegon suffered a stroke on Dragonstone while entertaining his grandsons Aegon and Viserys in the chamber of the Painted Table with details of his conquests. Though understandably probably a bit of a trauma to his grandsons, but I'm sure he didn't stroke out in front of them on purpose. Hey, number 3 on why I love this guy. He was loyal to his wives. Okay, so this guy had a lot of opportunities to bang a lot of chicks and marry them. Like, a lot. But he refused every opportunity. He passed up offer after offer from lords and ladies because he was so loyal to his super sexy sister wives. He even passed up Lord Hightower's hot youngest daughter so he wouldn't offend his 2 queens. I mean, maybe he did that because he realized it would be best to have 2 wives that had dragons on his side than be pissed off and passive-aggressive or actively aggressive in Visenya's case. But he still gets major points in my book. Plus, again, a pissed-off Visenya I don't think is something anyone wants to deal with. He also respected them and was loyal to them in other ways, such as allowing them to govern his new realm. In fact, when he would travel, he always had one sister wife with him, and the other sister wife would govern in his stead. And get this, he didn't even give a shit when they sat on his Iron Throne and ruled his realm. You may not think that's a big deal, but given that it's the equivalent of our own medieval world, where men had almost all the power and women none, that's a big fucking deal. In some cases, the guy would even have his mind changed by his wives or listen to them over his own desires. I love you, Aegon, you progressive bastard, you. Alright, number 4, he knew to pass governing to people that knew what to do. Aegon wasn't a dummy. I know some readers freak out and say that Aegon wasn't a good leader because he gave governing to the realm in different aspects to different people, which is weird to me because that's called being a great leader. Aegon the Conqueror knew how to delegate tasks to other people that would be better at that task than him. That's like leadership 101. You put the best people in charge of things for a bigger goal. I don't know why so many people struggle with that. So the fact that Aegon consulted with Grand Maesters, his own household maesters, sought advice on matters of income, debts, and taxation from his master of coin, relied on his king's hand, gave governance to his sister wives when needed, and kept in contact with many septons and the High Septon, shows he knew how to work with the right people to bring about peace and stability. Something the Maesters agree he did masterfully. Come on, the guy even knew that the Archmaesters of the Citadel had supreme authority in the Great Disciplines, and were the wisest and most learned men in the Seven Kingdoms. To utilize that, because he felt the realm would benefit from that type of wisdom, he had them send one of their own to advise and consult with him on all matters relating to governance of the realm. That began the office of Grand Maester. Aegon knew that he needed help in order to maintain control and have a peaceful realm, so he sought out the best people to put in power. He wasn't an egomaniac or greedy for control. This one may not be the best love reason, but number 5, he may have come to the Seven Kingdoms to help them from the others. This one may not be true, depending on where you fall on George's interview and, whether he confirms this after all, but if it is true, it makes me love Aegon even more. So in the Balerion and Aegon video, George talked about the Targaryens fleeing to Dragonstone before the Doom, how they still had their eyes east to Essos, but slowly began to turn their attention to the affairs of Westeros. This part is what really got some people. While talking about Aegon, he said, "There is a lot of speculation that in some sense he saw what was coming 300 years later, and wanted to unify the Seven Kingdoms to be better prepared for the threat that he eventually saw coming from the north. The threat we're dealing with in A Song of Ice and Fire." That would mean Aegon the Conqueror came to Westeros not because he was a bloodthirsty conqueror, but because he wanted to unite the Seven Kingdoms in order to handle the threat of the others. So good guy Aegon didn't kill a bunch of people, horribly, for his own bloodlust and need for power. This idea that Aegon knew of the coming of the others is a huge plot twist and puts him in a completely different light. In fact, we can look at the things he did and now look at them very differently. All of a sudden, Aegon's arrogance and insistence that the Seven Kingdoms kneel to him is more understandable. He probably knew saying, "Oh, hey guys, there's totally a prophecy and I need to unite you in the future so you don't get wrecked by some undead ice zombies," would not go over well, so he'd have to conquer the Seven Kingdoms instead. Swords instead of words. It also makes his super stubbornness about conquering Dorne make more sense. He should have thrown in the towel with that much earlier. But again, there's debate on that interview and what George was actually saying. Some people believe he was saying that. There are theories out there saying that, while others believe he was saying, "Oh no, that's something that happened," or "That's something that is a theory in the book's universe." But again, if it is true, and George is saying that Aegon came to Westeros to unite the Seven Kingdoms because he saw the coming of the others, that makes me love good guy Aegon even more. Okay, so those are 5 reasons I love Aegon the Conqueror. Smart cookie that played the faith, was a fantastic grandpa, loyal to his wives, knew how to wield and not wield power, and may be the real savior of the Seven Kingdoms. You may be asking yourself right now, but I thought Rawrist promised us 10 reasons why she loves Aegon. I did. And in part 2, I will get to the other 5 reasons. Also, like, subscribe, and come back for more videos. Or don't. I love Aegon. But not that fake fucking Aegon in the books. Fuck that guy!